Okay, so we're going to officially start in about a minute, but Jason had a specific question for his portfolio, and we were talking about the graphic standards manual. So you were going to sub out Crucible for your own logo, correct?
Yes.
I had a question.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what was the graphic standard manual again? Is that one of our assignments?
It was one of the assignments from Graphic Design 3.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Okay, I remember.
Welcome. We just want to make sure it was work, so we really haven't started yet. We're just chatting. So,
you're fine. I was just trying to keep up, and I didn't know if I remembered what. I thought the manual was the spread.
We'll talk about that because since that's the first the first campaign that we're working on, we can talk about that. I'm going to give people another minute or so since it's just now 6:30. Did anybody have any problem getting in?
No, I just tried to find out how it works.
I just had to download.
You had to download Zoom?
Yeah. I just got a new computer for this semester, so it's not up to date as well as my other one.
Oh, okay.
I'm going like back and forth. It's
oh, right. But okay, cool. Thank you guys for showing up today. Cam, can you talk just a second?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. I just wanted to make sure that everyone could hear. And what happens is whoever's talking the loudest gets the little frame around them. So I'm not going to mute anyone unless it gets crazy or someone's typing and we hear it or something like that. So we'll just try to take turns as we can. I learned about Zoom at a conference last summer, and someone who's not that tech savvy was running a master's program, and she said that since it was a small class, that Zoom really worked well, and they met pretty frequently, and the students really liked it because they were all online. So I'm hoping to get really familiar with this and it be easy and something that we can do because it's recording and I can share it with the people who aren't here. So as people show up, I'll just let them in the room and they'll just pop up magically. So let's do first question about campaign 1. And I just want to be clear, the order, the reason we start with the first campaign being the layout spread, it has nothing to do with the order that it's going to appear in your final printed portfolio. Just want to be clear on that. But everyone has to have a layout. So we start there because some people don't. And at the beginning of the semester is an easier time, then it's going to get more intense as we go. So if you have time now to create. I've posted 2 options in Blackboard today if you need additional projects. One of them is the East Coast Gaming Conference t-shirt design. And I think that deadline's not until March, so there's plenty of time. But even if you don't win or don't know if you win, at least there's an option for a campaign if you choose to go that way. And if you're into gaming and want to attend that thing for free, sign up with me to be a volunteer at ECGC this year. It's pretty cool. So that's why we do the layout first. Jason asked, hey, I'm going to do the graphic standards manual. And I asked anyone who was going to put that Crucible graphic standards manual in their portfolio to trade out Crucible logo that Tyler gave you for something you've designed that makes sense. A corporate logo, something where the organization is large enough that other people in the office or at another branch or at another campus would need to have those guidelines to preserve the brand across multiple platforms and uses, okay? So that's kind of what that's about. And he said, can I put in collateral? Well, in the graphic standards manual, there's a spread that talks about the letterhead and the business card, so it's already going to be in there. Is that right, Jason?
Yes.
Okay. So I think you're covered. If you want to, depending on the format of your pages and stuff, if it's a larger page, then you may have room to make the letterhead large enough so that you can actually read some of the stuff. The goal is when some of these things are shrunk down that you can still read text as needed, even in layouts. Welcome, Patricia.
Hello.
You have audio. Woo-hoo!
Yay!
Isn't this fun?
Yeah. Hi, guys. Hey.
This is so cool. I love it. All right. I'm going to, are there any other pending questions that you guys had? That was just one that we started with.
I do. I have another question. For each piece, should we try to use different, like different branding materials as much as possible? Or can we have like a couple, like, because I know a couple of mine really don't work for other branding things. Like a t-shirt will work for like multiple ones. Now, obviously I don't want to do a t-shirt for everything or a hat for everything.
Right.
But like, is there a little bit of leeway for that?
Like, can you have 2 t-shirts?
Sure.
In 8?
Well, like for 2 different, like 2 different pieces in the portfolio.
Sure. I've seen,
Right.
yeah. And I had a student last year who worked at a t-shirt shop, a screen printing shop, and he had designed a lot of different designs for shirts. So his campaign number 9 was t-shirt design. It was all t-shirts because he had done these custom things that were printed. So it demonstrated his knowledge of screen printing, color separation, technique, all those printing things, and his illustration skills. So I don't know if anyone in this Zoom class has that kind of experience, but if you had out of 8 campaigns, here's a t-shirt over here for our conference, here's another t-shirt for something else. T-shirts are so used, it's very common to brand with that. If it makes sense, then sure. Like if it's a restaurant logo, like that barbecue thing we did last semester, sure, people are going to want to buy swag or merch, and that's a big, little money maker for certain restaurants, especially if they're very clever and cool. And it's not just the brand, but maybe that's even something more.
When do you suggest adding a night night campaign?
Do I recommend it?
Or, well, yeah, when do you think it would be appropriate, or
I would say if you are like a logo maven or whatever, that's your jam, and you have a lot of logos, but they don't necessarily have pieces, then maybe you have a spread of, here are all my logo designs. I love doing logos, so this is what I do. Or if you enjoy doing fine art types of things, paintings that don't necessarily have a home in a campaign, photography, if it's good. Usually my thought is if you are a photographer, you're going to have a separate photography website maybe and portfolio for that if you're serious about it. That's why it doesn't come into the 8. It has to be a 9th. A 9th is like a specialty. Or if you just, hey, you're not in this class.
Thank you.
So that's what I would suggest for 9th spread. I'm going to try to share my screen and we will see. What can I show you? Oh. Neat. Cool. Okay, the contract.
Oh, wow.
This is the one that I shared with you guys, and it is Jesus Garcia. It's his contract with Mr. Dockery's commentary. Now, he was his teacher, so that's why that's what that is. And I wonder if I can, yes. Okay. So all these little comments here, if I click on them, it says, okay, this is an app design named Part Out Your Travel Assistant. And this is an app design. I need to see the app in action with descriptions and screens. So it's like, this is not a campaign. This is one screen from the app, right? So here's a promo poster. Only one piece needs to be a campaign. So here's some suggestions. This is the type of thing that I would say to you. Study and redesign of 3 different labels of wine. Approved. Okay, so out of 3, this is the first campaign that has been totally approved. Okay, the goal in the next few weeks is to get all 8 approved. This one, magazine cover, approved. Show me in situ. So I'm not sure why he approved this one, even though it's 1. I guess he's counting the typography portrait, the cover, and then a mock-up. It's a stretch, but it would work. Okay, but you understand why these 2 are not approved yet. These top 2. Okay, because there's only 1 seed. And when I met with you guys, we identified the seeds that I thought you could grow through the semester. So in this contract, you got to grow the seed. You got to make it up and say, okay, it doesn't exist right now, but it's going to. Or here's my plan for what's going to exist.
So are you expecting all 3
Right. I look like I'm in
by next week, or is it kind of like this is my plan, these are the pieces I want to expand upon?
The plan needs to have something in here. Let's say, okay, so he wants 2 more posters. Well, okay, maybe I put 2 in here, and I'm going to at least put text on here that says elephant, headline, something. You need to have as much information as possible, because you may have it in your head, but, I try, but I'm not as psychic as I'd like to be. But, I've got to be able to approve it and, know that the in situ piece or the mock-up is 1. So
if I don't have like an actual piece with like a rough or a comp, something like that would be acceptable?
Yes. Yes, it doesn't have to be the final thing. Like this. This is a tea box design for mandala tea. This is package design. Where's the package? Logo's interesting, but you need more to go on. So don't just give me a logo and say it's going to be a package. Well, show me something.
Okay.
Like if you guys are working on the Joe Van Gogh, you'll have a logo. You will have some packaging. The final for that is a whole range of mock-ups. So even though you may not have it now, show me what you're going to do, And then this was his number 9. And he actually runs this website. It's a real website. So this was his number 9. Now, this was a couple years ago. So I would like to see in your sites, some social, some sort of web, some sort of marketing like that. So any questions about this? You have access to this and you can review it more in detail if you like.
Professor?
Yes.
I have a question. You were talking about the if we want to put photos in there. So unless we are really serious about it, we can put as a campaign number 9 is for photos, or we have to have a website for that.
You don't have to have a separate website for photography if you want to include the 9th. It can't take the place of one of your 8.
Okay.
That's all. That's why it becomes like a specialty.
Yeah, I think I have some pictures.
Okay. Woo, woo, woo. Okay. Here's where you submit your multi-page roughs. If this project is new for you, Or if you have something like the graphic standards manual or catalog or anything, you're going to put it in here and I'm going to give you feedback. This is a requirement. Okay. This is actually subbing in for what I'll show you in this over here in the lessons. So you'll see that we got our schedule. I updated it because I moved something around with the resume. I moved it from week 5 to week 7 and I updated that schedule. I don't know why this is here and I will remove it. All right, portfolio contract submission. We just looked at that contract and here is the file, J. Garcia annotated. So that's the one that has comments in it. If you want to look and see what Mr. Dockery's feedback was, this is the contract in InDesign that you can use and fill out. Here is his portfolio that happened after all of this. This is where it started. This is where it ended. And this is, if you have a previous version of InDesign, this is the legacy format that you can open. So this kind of hangs out in the lesson area because you have until like week 3, sometimes week 4 if it doesn't get approved, to submit it. So you'll be submitting as many times as it takes to get all 8 approved.
Okay.
Okay. This here is going to hang out here too. It is optional, but it's available. Last year, not that many students did it. It just depends on your workflow and what you have ready at the time. But if you have something that you want to, that you've got prepared, you've done some changes since our first meeting, and you want to submit it to get some feedback in, even if it's like, hey, is this okay to add to my contract? Throw it in here and I'll give you some feedback. It's not graded. I will just check it, and every time you put something in there, it'll show up in the grade book that there's something in there. Something new. So this, once we get into the schedule, you'll see that you have campaigns 1 and 2 are due in week 4. They should be done, you know. That means those pieces should be finalized because you've got campaigns 3 and 4 due in 2 weeks after that. And then we start designing the layout of the whole pages, and then everything's going to have to be laid out in the pages, and then they're due, you know, every 2 weeks you've got 2 campaigns done. So it gets kind of hectic. That's why not a lot of people had the time to upload things ahead of time because they're due every 2 weeks. So,
I have a question that's kind of off topic. Like mock-ups and in-situ pieces, how many different types of them would you like per campaign? Is it like?
It depends. If it's a spread, like a layout, then I would just say an open book or magazine. Or if you did a cover and a spread, then you'd show those 2. If you have a business card, you could show a stack of cards and maybe one on the side and maybe the back if you designed the back. You don't need a whole lot. You just need to show it, and it needs to be strong. I would suggest, if you can, pay money, because otherwise you're just going to look like everyone else's, and it may not be great quality because resolution becomes very important when you're printing these things out. And you're learning that, or have learned that, in print production when you printed out your book, or if you've ever snagged anything online and printed it and been disappointed, you know. You're going to have to get high res, 300 DPI at least for printing. So if that means that you designed something really small in the past, and at the size that it should be in your layout is larger than that, then you may have to redo some things. But if you know that there are some of those in there, find them now and add that to your to-do list sooner than later. Good question. You guys are going to review in small groups your personal branding, resume, business card, any kind of collateral pieces that you have, and you get to know who those groups are in lesson or week 3. And I've given you some cues and stuff about that. And I just today got a wonderful resource about ATS, applicant tracking systems, which is when you submit your application or your resume online to any number of these places where a robot's basically looking at your resume and scanning it. There's some really good tips in here how to work with that, because increasingly, if your words in your resume don't match the description or don't have those keywords in there, it's going to pass you by just because there's not a human being reading it, which is unfortunate. But there's
So true.
Yeah, sucks, right?
Yes.
One little thing, and I wrote about it here in the color in your personal branding. This really doesn't have anything to do with color, but I want to point something out to you that I love, basically. You see this portfolio here. Number one, I love that it's in this envelope. But the main thing that really just makes me smile is this short page. You can do that. You can totally do that. Now, if you're paying for a lay flat book, panorama book, you don't have that luxury. But if you're putting this thing together with like a screw post type of thing and you are in control of your pages, ooh, it's endless, the possibilities of, well, maybe I put my thumbnails on a smaller sheet. Maybe I put it on vellum. Maybe I put a mood board on a different kind of sheet. I mean, it can be a really tactile experience and really keep it interesting. So, I mean, you have options, and this is very subtle here, but I wanted you to see it and I wanted to point it out so you get some ideas.
I found a lot of architecture portfolios on Pinterest that use that same kind of design.
Awesome.
It was pretty cool looking. It just gave your pages a lot. It just gave them more room to where you could write about each piece, but then you could actually show the piece like bigger, and it was just really clean looking.
Yeah, I like it. And if once you decide on the format or the case, then you know what you're dealing with. So we're talking about those things. We're going to have more discussions about them, and you can price them out. I had a guy in my office today who's from Greensboro who says, yes, we can make these books. Yes, we want to work with you. I said, what's the turnaround time? He's like, I'll have to ask someone. And I'm like, okay. Because you don't have the luxury of a lot of time, because you've got to mail or deliver your portfolio to me when it's time to be done, and we'll review it. So you got to count that in. I've got less than 10 minutes remaining in this Zoom meeting before we get kicked out. They removed my 40-minute time limit. Yay. Okay.
Wow.
Sweet. They want me to buy something. Yeah. Okay. Well, we're still on this screen. It says ongoing assignment, small group review. So through probably week 6 or 7, you'll have access to this, and you'll want to give each other feedback, because I'm not going to see it until you turn it in, and then it becomes part of that 5% of your course grade piece that the resume counts. So you want to really try to give some good feedback. It's a lie right here. I removed it, but I didn't want to have to go through the course entry quiz. That does not exist yet. That was from last year. Sorry. Any other questions?
As far as like branding ourselves on like our business cards or our resumes or even our portfolios, do you suggest, like, I have my business cards right now say Hitching Post Design. Mm-hmm. Would you recommend just saying Patricia Hitchings graphic designer? Is that way it's not necessarily a brand in looking for positions, or does it really matter?
If you are looking for positions, it might be better to have your own name. Mm-hmm. But if you are DBA, doing business as, another name, and you have a legitimate business and you have a checking account with that name so that someone could write a check to that and it would cash. And you are the person that can sign it and it's all good. If you've got something established, then it has design in it, so I don't know that you'd have to change it. But if you're not at that point and you're flexible and can change, you may want to go with your name.
Okay.
Yeah. Now that will change your branding, but you guys are going to purchase a domain that's custom. You're going to set up email under that custom domain. It's not going to be Joe Designer at Gmail. Then you have, patriciahitchings.com. It doesn't go together. So you've got to keep it up and up, and it'll be professional. I haven't heard back from Tyler about the updated pricing from Bluehost, but it's in there because you've got to start looking for hosting and domain. And I've also provided information on if you have a Weebly or WordPress.com or Squarespace site, how do you map the domain to the domain that you buy? Domains are fairly inexpensive, but I will tell you, if you have one in mind, don't search for it very frequently because the price will go up. Supply and demand. So if you have this brilliant name, look for it one time and either buy it or hope it's there when you go back, because if you keep searching for it, the price can go up, and that's just rude, but bad. Yeah. Any other questions?
So, talking about the domain again, Professor, I already have one, but I never do anything with my website. So, but you were saying if it's not a legal business yet, so I'm not supposed to use it. So you want me to find like a website with my name, right?
Well, what's the name of it?
B Castro. So
it's not .com?
Yes, but I changed the K for the C. So that should be a problem.
So you spell Castro with a K?
Yeah. People have very bad connotation about my last name, even though I'm not related to.
Please, come on.
So
You're
I feel like that.
No, I don't think there's any problem with that. If you did, I think it could be confusing if someone wants to address you in an email, or they don't know how to spell your name properly, or they run the risk of misspelling it because of the website, or they know your name and they try to look you up and you're not there.
Okay.
That's the problem. And this goes for all your social media as well. Whatever you use for your professional graphic design, you want to use it for your social as well. So if that means you got a personal one and a business one, highly recommend.
Okay.
No mixing. It's not good.
Well, remember we talked about in the other meeting, so I have a reason that I block all my social media actually, but
yeah, personal, but you probably have started a Twitter account back in Design 1. I know it's one of the requirements, and so you should have, if you don't already, do an audit of your social media and make sure that you have some sort of history of interaction, posting, sharing, retweeting, liking. At least follow us.
I do follow you. It's just, I'm hiding from the world.
Yeah, you can't really start halfway into this semester and appreciate any kind of history of social media. You got to kind of build that up and be very mindful of your footprint out there, and that it's putting out the right impression that you want, professional. I would say steer clear of any political or religious stuff, just as a rule, because you don't know who's going to hire you. So, why limit yourself if you don't have to, and just, Be professional. Follow people who are good at their jobs. If there's a place you want to work, find out about their culture. Follow them on social. Know them. Respond. Engage with them. You know, and then when you go in and say, oh, yes, I'm so-and-so, and they'll remember you. If you're engaging with their social media, they love that. That's the whole point. So, you know, I interviewed for a summer return to industry one time. It's years ago. But the company was all women-owned agency in Winston-Salem. And they did all of a lot of work for Hanes pantyhose and tobacco, you know, Reynolds tobacco. So they said, we are the ladies of the dark side. And I was like, well, okay. But they had won some awards at the Addies. And I knew that because I kind of kept, you know, on trend and read the news in the area, probably in a Business Weekly or something like that. And so when I came into the interview, I congratulated them on their award that they literally just won like 2 days before I stepped in the room. And they were like, oh, cool. So, you know, you can keep track of what people are doing, especially if you are like, wow, my dream job is to work for wherever. Know them, make it happen, you know? Especially, I mean, you want to know that you're going to be a good fit. So you want to know what their culture is and what language they're using and what are they sharing and who are they following? Because that's going to go a long way. Kind of gotten away from the portfolio contact, but are there?
Sorry.
I've seen some graphic designers, or at least on their websites, they'll have linked to like, it's not exactly graphic design material, but like they might have an Instagram account for photography or something. Would you recommend mixing that, or would that be best just to leave it for something else?
At this point, when we have some guidelines in this course where you have everything's going to come together. So if I'm on your LinkedIn page, you'll have a link to your website. I can go to your website. There will be a link from your website back to LinkedIn or to Instagram or to Twitter. And from every one of those, it leads back to all the others. So you're kind of making a web. And when you do that, everything has to be kind of unified. And maybe you have a blog that's more playful or behind the scenes or pet projects. That's a perfect place to put that type of information.
Okay.
Especially, let's say you go to the ECGC and you see some of these characters and you want to meet them, or you know, any kind of field trips or conferences and things like that. It's really cool to keep a blog of, you know, what did you learn? Tyler keeps a great blog of every professional development event he attends, and he has inspired me to do the same thing. And when I have to write a report or go up for an award or something, it's very easy to go and pull, oh, I remember I learned that technique at this conference, and then I used it in the classroom in this way. So, you know, when life catches up and you forget, where did I even hear that? Or how did I learn that? And you maybe can network with people and you can remember, where did I meet you? You know, those are great places to connect. And when you can volunteer and get in for free, pretty cool. There's another conference, and I'm not going this year, but I have gone in the past. It's called High Five Creativity Conference in Raleigh. And it's coming up, so you might want to check it out and see if there's any volunteer opportunities, because the speakers are great. I mean, Von Glitchko was there. I met him. Lots of cool people. Can't think. Lots of really cool people that are in the business of design and creativity. And if you can kind of get in and get any of that, it's great. Another good one is Internet Summit, and lots of cool swag. and a lot of focus on marketing, especially email marketing, social, just on brand messaging and design, of course. So those are two main ones that I can recommend. Internet Summit wasn't too far back, so it'll be a little while, but it's a good one. Any other questions now that we've got unlimited time?
I just thought of one. What are there specific, like, I'm thinking about in our portfolios, is there something like specific design, I guess, tasks? Like, would you want packaging? If maybe, like, I'm not really interested in it, but is it something that I should add? Or like, would you want something like packaging, or like what kind of variety? I guess maybe is what I'm asking.
A lot of variety, because when you get out there looking for a job, it's great to have, video editing experience, social media marketing experience, demonstrating those skills. Of course, you can't do a lot with video in the printed portfolio, but online, certainly. Let's see. I'm going to think about the Joe Van Gogh, because I know you're in 246 doing that. And if you were going to put packaging in, I would say that would be a great one to include, because you're going so deeply into the design of the whole thing. And it's going to demonstrate a system, a design system for a client, and a real rebrand of a probably known entity. So I think I would include that. But yeah, packaging demonstrates that you understand die cuts and designing for a 3-dimensional form.
Okay.
Yeah. Amanda, any questions?
I'm intently listening.
Okay. Patricia, any questions?
I don't think so.
Victoria, any other questions?
No, at the moment. Thank you, Professor.
Jason?
No.
No?
No, this has been fantastic.
I love this format. I
Yeah, the
love
whole page of notes
It's been
here.
very helpful.
Would you do
Yeah.
it again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Will you recommend it to your friends?
yeah, I love this.
Awesome.
I've never done this before.
I haven't either.
Well, it's cool to actually like interact.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And everybody did great with, not talking over and stuff. I think it's really good. And the screen sharing worked. Hey, Mama.
Sorry, that's my daughter.
I guess it's time to go. Well,
Yeah, my little one in there with Daddy.
I'll post this on Blackboard. I may clean up a little bit, but not much, because they deserve all this, right?
Yeah.
They missed out.
Everyone who didn't come, you missed out, but next time, and there will be one. So
Awesome.
thank you very much. If you guys have any questions, email them to me, jcevans4@waketech.edu, and have a wonderful night.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.